Hey everybody, I'm that one guy, and I wanted to create a series of videos to go over the Weakauras I've created. The whole purpose of the Weakauras is obviously to help you better understand your spec and hopefully help you play better as a result, but also to gamify the game. Because WoW does present you with some spell alerts for the specs you play, but not all. And so that leaves you looking for ways to identify if a certain buff or debuff is active. And that's where Weakauras can come in play. And I wanted to do more than just have an icon with a timer in it, right? I wanted to try to present you with visual effects that make it feel more like a video game and immerse you more into the spec you're playing. At least that's the idea. So in these videos, I'm going to go over the Weakauras I've created, how I intend for them to work, and show you how you can modify them if you'd like. So whether you've already found my Weakauras, or you're looking for some for a certain spec, or you just want to have a better idea of how Weakauras work in general, hopefully these videos will help you with that. In this video, we're going to talk about Holy Paladin, and you'll see that I do my healers Weakauras a lot differently than I do my DPS Weakauras. That being because when I'm healing, I noticed that if I had my action bar and my icons where I'm tracking the cooldowns lower, like probably right down here, and then I even put my raid frames, my party frames below that, I just had a lot more time with my eyes down and not noticing that I was standing and stuff as a healer. So I shifted it all up to right around my tune so that I can see exactly what I'm doing and still see my cooldowns, and then I put my raid frames and my party frames right here. So that's why it's structured and designed that way. If you don't like any of this stuff, right, you're like, I don't want that, I don't need that, that's in the way, I'll show you how you can delete that. You can keep all this other visual stuff if you like it. But if you have downloaded any of my other paladins, I usually put this general paladin class abilities inside the pack, whether it's ret, prot, or holy, just because I don't need to put two different things out there. So that just could mean you have duplicates, right? You might have multiple paladin class abilities and you don't need duplicates. You can safely delete that if you have more than one of them. So at the class abilities, right, we're going to track a few different things. If you're talented into Divine Resonance, the ability that makes your Divine Toll send out extra stuff every couple seconds after, as what these tick marks are showing you. On Holy, right, you're going to send out additional Holy Shock. It's just something visual to help you keep track of when you're going to get additional Holy Power. And with Holy Paladin, you'll see there's wings. That's just kind of a visual thing. You should probably know when you're in wings, but I like just kind of gamifying the game some. And again, like I've talked about, just adding more visual effects. So when you've procced wings, whether it's through awakening or actually activating Avenging Wrath, there will be wings on your screen. If you don't like that, it's distracting. It's this Avenging Wings talent. You can delete children in group, or go over to load and check the never box, right? This would mean it will never load until you uncheck that box, because maybe you don't like it, but you might like it later and you just want to keep it. There are two different versions of Holy Power that I have, mainly because, and it's not going to be these for Holy. I made an entirely different set for Holy Paladin right here. Mainly because my eyes can be in two different places. One, I try to keep them up here where I have other stuff that I'm tracking and I'm looking at. And so I felt like I'd rather have my Holy Power there. But I also haven't play tested it with enough hours to decide if that's completely obnoxious, if I'd rather just be able to see it right here where you have the traditional bars showing your number of charges for Holy Power. So it is in two places. I like having it like this, just because, one, I like that visual effect. I think that looks pretty cool. It feels very holy to me. I use a very similar image with a holy priest for a different Weakura. And you can add some different modifiers and stuff to it. Like for the Ret Paladin tier set, it can be red when that tier set is active. So I just enjoy having another visual effect to play with. Divine Purpose, pretty stable thing. Again, this will be in every Paladin pack if you download it from Wago, and you don't need duplicates of everything. Feel free to delete, move, recolor, anything you'd like. If you feel like you don't like the changes you made, just delete it and re-download another one. For Holy Paladin specific stuff, alright, so there it is combined with the class abilities. If I just take those away for now, this is what you get for Holy Paladin specifically. And again, you can see there's the duplicates of Holy Power, just because I never know where my eyes are going to rest more steadily, right, where I'm more frequently going to be looking. And I just, I'm indecisive. I haven't decided which one I want to keep, which one I want to remove. I just like the look of this one, really. So for Holy, the first thing you'll see listed is a hero talent, Dawnlight, right? After you cast Prism, you have 2 charges that are going to put your Dawnlight on something. Your next Holy Power Spinners are going to put your Dawnlight on something. So that's what those are, right? When you do Holy Prism, there's your 2 Dawnlights. 1, and then if I spend enough, 2, right? Gone. I am tempted to switch that with this Hand of Divinity, these images right there, just because I think they look so cool. And again, I'm going more for class immersion and feeling on brand, right? And while as this looks like light, and it is related to Dawnlights and things like that, this just looks cool. It looks very Holy Paladin-esque. That is for Hand of Divinity, right? Your charges, if you're talented into that and you activate it, that's the number of charges you have for your free or your instant Holy Light casts, right? Because you get up to 2, 1, 2. So that's what that image is. But as I mentioned, if you don't like all of this stuff down here, right? It is in these 2 buckets. Major CDs and rotational CDs, all right? Where, again, instead of trying to look down here and keep track of stuff, I wanted small little icons to let me know timers of things that I'm looking at. I think I even track Hammer of Wrath, so even though that's not a major CD, I'm a little bit OCD and try to be symmetrical, and so I already had 2 and 2, and I didn't want to throw Hammer of Wrath anywhere in here, just because I feel like it starts to look clunky and cluttered. But yeah, just tracking the main stuff that you want to try to keep on cooldown and be aware of, as there are short cooldowns, or shorter cooldowns for Holy Paladin, and then your major and longer cooldowns just right there. You can shrink those if you're like, well, I like them, but I don't need it to be that big. If you go inside and you click on the icon, in this position and size settings, this is where you can change the width and height. Also where they're located. So if you want to move them along that line or up and down or left and right. But again, if you don't like those, you can just select this whole group and go to load and never, and then they'll never load, or you can just right click it and delete children group. Again, there's no dependencies within the rest of the Weakura pack. It's not like if you delete those, the rest of it's going to fail. As for standard visuals, you'll see there is Infusion of Light, right? That is one of the base ones that comes with WoW's UI. The only one I believe they might show you that in Divine Purpose for Paladin. So with Infusion of Light, if you are spec'd into Inflorescence of the Sunwell, that's kind of hard to say, you will see the version that basically does it as 1, 2 charges. You'll have 2 charges, and when you use the first one, you'll have 1 left. If you are not spec'd into that, you just have the 1, and it'll show both, and then they will both go away at the same time. Right? So there's Infusion of Light, just kind of modifying it some to match whether you have just 1 charge or if you have 2 that you can consume at the same time. Divine Favor, right, that you get from casting Holy Prism or Barrier of Faith. You may not like it because that is a permanent buff, and it will not go away until you use it, right? So it could sit there forever. Hopefully you use it soon enough so it's not sitting there forever, but it could sit there forever. So you could change its load behavior to only show in combat, right? Because right now I'm not in combat and you're just going to see that. Same is true of that Dawnlight. If you want those, right, but you don't want to see them if you're not in combat because maybe you used it and yeah, you just forgot to consume it and you just don't want to consume it for whatever reason, you can set it to only show in combat, and then it's not going to show up until you activate combat again, right? And then the same would be true of those Dawnlights. If you only want those to show up in combat, right, then you'd go and you'd check that in combat box. And the buff will be there, and then when you are not in combat, the buff will go away, even though you still have it. So it just kind of depends on your preference. I don't mind it, also because I know I'm just going to consume it, right? If I really don't want it to show, that's what I do. And then you can see the Holy Power is showing too. If you only want that to show when you're in combat, same thing, right? You go up to it, go to the Load tab, and click on that in combat box. It's important to know that if you want it to show again, don't just click it once, because this means when you're in combat it won't show, and when you're out of combat it will. You want it unchecked if you want it to just show all the time. The Hand of Divinity, that's the cool looking ones that I talked about. I think they look cool. Like I said, I do a lot of this mostly just for like class immersion and class fantasy stuff. So when they look cool, I feel better about it. So I might assign that to something else that you actually use, because right now you don't take Hand of Divinity. So it's just wasted. Poor talent. Or poor Weakura, I should say. Then we've got Empyrean Legacy, which is a two-part thing. When the debuff is gone or the buff is ready to be activated, right? Because you can only activate it every so many seconds. And you have a debuff, meaning you can't activate it again. When that debuff is gone, you'll see that ring, which means that your next judgment will activate the Empyrean Legacy, meaning your next WOG or Word of Glory will cast Light of Dawn at the same time. There is going to be a little overlap there because in that exact same spot is Veneration, right? That image. Okay, I use a very similar image for Hammer of Wrath procs for Ret. I try to keep some consistency amongst the classes, but that would be in the same spot. Again, I don't think you're going to be too worried about like, oh man, I wish I knew I had that over this. And I think you can also tell that they both exist at the same time. I don't think it's too much information overload. If you want them in different spots, right, you can move them, you can change the colors, you can delete one. Again, it's pretty easy to just go into where the group is and you can either move it left or right or up and down. And I would encourage you to move the group because this is a combination of two different images stacked on top of each other. So I get it to look like that. If I make this go away. So if you just move the group, it'll move them both together. Awakening is going to be, again, another two-part thing. It's going to track your stacks and let you know how many holy power you spent all the way up to 15. When you've gotten to 15, you'll see this icon. Right? That means, hey, your next judgment is going to activate your wings, right? That's the tracking the awakening thing. So instead of just being a number that sits at 15, if you see that image, that means you can cast judgment. Rising Sunlight, that's the ability that casts multiple holy shocks. This just lets you know how many charges of that you have left. And then these are just going to be just another indicator of like how much time is left in your Avenging Crusader or wings. And there's my duplicate holy power cast bar stuff. So like kind of what it looks like if you did Divine Toll. There's your Rising Sunlights, right? So that tells me the next two holy shocks are going to cast 2 additional times. Okay. Then if you did your Holy Prism, right, you have your 2 Dawn Lights and Divine Purpose and your Divine Favor, right? All that stuff all at once. So it can get a little overwhelming, but again, I'm a guy who likes visual effects. So I'm not opposed to it. All right, when you're in wings, you see the wings, you see your Rising Sunlight counts. If I were spending Holy Power, you could see that my Awakening stacks are starting to go up, right? And if I got to 15, which I may not do in any short order, but if and when I got to 15, you'd see that icon show up around there that lets you know that, hey, your next cast of judgment is going to, and there's the Veneration showing up, your next cast of judgment is going to activate Awakening. And you could also see below that when Veneration is active, the Hammer of Wrath glows too. But that's also, I leave that there for the purpose of when a target is below 20% health, you'll see that. Right? And Infusion of Light procs, Divine Favor, Holy Power, Dawn Light, Divine Purpose. So can be, again, a lot of information on the screen, but like I think the more you play Holy Paladin, the more you know what all of that means to you, and it's not that shocking or overwhelming anymore. Let's see, I just wanted to try to get up to 15. Huzzah! Now I know my next judgment will count. It throws a 1 in there, even though you aren't actually counting 1 towards the next one. But voila. So that's it for Holy Paladin. Let me know if there's some stuff that I missed that you think should be included, or if there's anything else that might be helpful inside this pack for Holy Paladin. If you enjoyed it, let me know. That always makes me feel happy. Again, I hope you found that helpful. I do intend to make a Weakura pack for every spec. So if I haven't made one for the spec that you play or that you'd like to see, just comment that down below. Again, I do intend to make one for every spec, but if I see people asking for it or really wanting one, I'll probably get to it quicker than if I just do it on my slow, leisurely pace. I hope it will enhance your gameplay. Like I said, it's all about gamifying the game and making it more fun and more immersive for you, while also helping you improve as a player because the information that you need to react to is hopefully more readily available. If you have any other questions about this Weakura pack that you just watched or any other ones, again, please feel free to comment. I try to be as interactive as possible in my YouTube section. And that's it. I hope you have a great day.